welcome to this tutorial on how to create arguments using documents. Now, this is going to be a really big and important skill when it comes to your AP class. And here's why. You're going to be using documents throughout the year. And most importantly, you're going to have to write what's called a DBQ essay. And a DBQ essay is called a document-based question essay. Basically, it's using documents in order to create and support an argument. Okay, let's step back for a moment and just think about what it means to create an argument. An argument has three basic elements to it. It has a claim, it has warrants, and it has an impact. What do I mean by that? Claims are basically opinions. Warrants are evidence. And impacts tells us why they're significant. So it basically ties your evidence back to your claim. Now, whenever you're making an argument, you want that argument to be specific, you want it to be well supported, and you want it to be significant. Plus, your argument should really say something that there would be an opposing argument to, or like a thesis and counter thesis. If your argument really has no counter thesis, then it's not really saying anything that would be unique or different. So we want to make sure that you have that kind of an argument that's going to do that, right? So the purpose of this video is going to be to show you how to construct an argument, make a good claim, but also use documents as your evidence. We're going to work with the following prompt today. And this was a previous prompt for AP essays. The prompt we're going to use is going to be the following. Evaluate the extent to which interactions between Muslim and non-Muslim communities affected attitudes towards Islam or Islamic culture in the period circa 1200 to 1750. Okay, so step one, the very first thing you want to do is read through the document itself. Let the document guide you. The document is sort of like your touchstone that then you're going to expand outwards in order to make your argument. So what should you do when you hit a document? Well, there are three big steps I want you to consider. First big step, don't get mistaken and jump into the document. Never do that. You want to go to the source first. You want to ask yourself some questions about the source. Who wrote this? What is their class, gender, national origins, religious attitude from? In other words, what's their social class and status in society? Okay, when you're done with that, you're going to ask some other questions though too, like what's the date of the document? What's the title of the document? What kind of contextual clues do you get from this? Okay, now that you're all done with this, we can go to step number two. Step number two is read the document. But when you read the document, you're really looking to get a gist of the document. In other words, paraphrase the overall idea. What is the author trying to tell us? Okay, last off is significance. What was the significance of this article, this document? Meaning both, what was the author trying to say that was important, and what was the purpose of the document? Because that's going to help you in constructing your argument. Okay, second part of the video. Let's go ahead and we're going to practice with a couple documents. I'm going to show you how to analyze them, create some evidence, and then we're going to get into constructing a claim. So we got two big documents I want to take a look at. Let's first take a look at this document. Document number one. The source here is Liu Ji, a Chinese Muslim scholar born in Nanjing, who writes about the explanation of the norms and rights of Islam, a treatise written in Chinese in 1710. Okay, let's just start here really quick. Who is our source? It's a Chinese scholar. That means he's upper class, he's educated, probably influenced by Confucianism. Now let's go ahead and read over the document itself. Witness the real God, pray 5 times every day, fast for 1 month every day, pay a tax on your wealth every year, take part in the pilgrimage to Mecca once in a lifetime. Once these 5 pillars are accomplished, the way of heaven is fulfilled. Comply with the 5 norms, namely those binding rule and minister, father and son, husband and wife, brother, and friend and friend. Once the 5 relationships are observed, the way or the Tao of man is achieved. The vehicle for the good life is called Sharia, Islamic law. It is a concept uniting the way of heaven and the way of man. Okay, if I were to paraphrase this document, what I would see happening here is a mixture of Islam and its principles and Confucianism and its obligations in the family. So how would I categorize this? This is a good example to me of cultural syncretism. So what I'm seeing here happening of interactions between Muslims and non-Muslims is the adaptation of Muslim ideas into the ideas of other beliefs, in this case, Confucianism. Okay, we're going to do the same thing again, but for a second document. So let's start off here with the source of the document. It's Isaac Zarfati, a Jewish scholar who was born in Germany but emigrated to the Ottoman city of Innern, open letter to the Jewish communities in the German states, 1454. Okay, a few things we can say about this particular source. It's a Jewish scholar. Usually we think of Jewish people and Muslims as kind of like being in conflict, right? That can be kind of interesting. That might jar a few ideas for us. Obviously, as somebody who's written, he's a scholar, so he's educated. He would be considered a dhimmi, or a person of the book, somebody who is not Muslim, but he's living in the Ottoman Empire. He's living in this major gunpowder Muslim empire. So what's the gist of the document? Well, let's read it over. I have heard of the oppressions that have been inflicted upon our Jewish brethren in the German lands, of the tyrannical laws, the forced baptisms and banishments. I hear tales of daily demands for money levied by the merciless Christian oppressors. I proclaim to you that the Ottoman Empire is a land where every man may dwell at peace in his house on his own land. The way to the Holy Land is open to you through the land of the Turks. Is it not better for you to live under Muslims than under Christians? Here, you would be allowed to wear any garment you like, unlike in Christendom. Now, this is a really interesting document to me. We tend to think, coming out of our time period, of conflicts between Muslims and Jewish people. And today, oftentimes, Jewish people are allied with Christians in the modern world. And yet here, we see the opposite happening. A Jewish scholar is calling for people to go to the Ottoman Empire because there they will receive tolerance, better than in Christian Europe. So the category that I can get out of this is this idea of tolerance. Okay, now that I'm all done reading these documents, I can find the commonality between the two of them. There's a commonality of syncretism and tolerance. Based off of that, now I can construct my main thesis, or my main claim that I can use for the documents. So what is the main claim that I'm going to be able to use for this? Here's my thesis. Interactions between Muslims and non-Muslims between 1200 to 1750 led to new practices of cultural tolerance and blending because Islamic law recognized the diversity of people in the Middle East as a part of their civic communities. Okay, notice what I've done there. I found the commonality between the two documents. I created my thesis statement. I want you to notice a few things about the thesis statement. At the very beginning, I made sure to refer to the prompt. I used language from the prompt to let the reader know that I'm responding to that question. But I didn't stop there because that wouldn't be enough added value. So I gave an argument off of that, a claim about the blending of syncretism and tolerance. Then I went even further and I saw how there was a because statement here, a historical reason that Islamic law in the Middle East recognized this diversity of people. Now what I can do is I can take my documents and cite them and use them for support for the argument. Okay, so let's do a brief recap on what you should do when you're using documents for evidence. Very first thing you want to do, read the documents. Go to the documents because they're going to give you the details you need. Now, in order to do the documents, go to the source first. Get some contextual clues for the source. Then dive into reading the document and get a gist of the document. Then look for the significance of the document and categorize it. Once you come up with that common category, now you can create a thesis or a claim, and then you can use those documents to back up that thesis or claim. I hope this is helpful to you in constructing arguments this year as you're thinking about DBQs and documentary evidence. See you in class.